The world of theater is full of stars. But just like in the night sky, sometimes we don't see them all. Some are in the wings, some are maybe up over us in the catwalk. Hopefully they're not under the stage, but you never know. In this series, we are going to meet those hidden stars of the theater, hear their stories, and be inspired by them. So join me on this journey here in my state-of-the-art production studio in my backyard as we meet the hidden stars of theater. Hey everyone, and welcome back to my camper. I am Jamie Davis, the host of the Hidden Stars of Theater, and it is great to have you here as always. I'm excited today about our guest. I'm always excited, but man, today you're going to love to meet Mike Rukstad. Mike is a member of the audio team for Hamilton, Los Angeles, and their Los Angeles crew there. But that's just a part of who he is. Mike's passion for what he does, you're just going to be blown away today by his story. It's just pretty incredible, and can't wait for you to hear it. Now, before we do, though, we've got to do some other things like featured school of the week. Our featured school this week is Latta High School from Latta, Oklahoma. And their coach, director, teacher, mentor of all things, Divita Smith, she's doing great things with them. And somebody else, I don't know, maybe me, I volunteer there with them and do some of their tech stuff. Love these guys. But we are going to begin now by showing you some pictures from their one act that they did this year in competition, won regionals. We got a top tech award as well. Go Panthers, and want to show you those and hear from Divita. And then as soon as we're done with that, we're going to come back and we are going to be in our interview with Mike. So I think that's it. Let's jump right into it because we got a lot to do today. So first, here we go with Latta.
Hi guys, it's Miss Smith. I just wanted to tell you that I miss you guys so much. I miss your creativity, your jokes, your making fun of my hair. I actually fixed it today, so I can't wait to hear what you have to say about that. I hope you're practicing safe social distancing and you are healthy and happy, and I can't wait to see you again. Bye.
Welcome back. Well, it is time, the time that we have all been waiting for with anxious anticipation. It is time to hear from and meet Mr. Mike Rukstad. Mike Rukstad, you are in California today, so welcome. Probably have some sunshine. Where I am, it's a little dreary and rainy, but that's okay because we're not here to talk about the weather, sir. We're here to talk about you and to learn about you and hear your experiences. And I have been looking forward to this for quite some time since I found out you were going to join us here. So welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. And so we are, one of the things that everybody that comes to these knows, we like to start right from the start, just kind of getting to know you. Because again, and people may get sick of me saying this, but you are who you are because of where you've been, right? And so much of what we learn about not just who you are, but what you do comes from the journey. And, we've got most of our listeners are very early on in their journey. And so our goal in this is, man, let's help them out. Maybe help them learn some lessons that you learned later and you wish you'd learned earlier. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's give it up for Mr. Mike Rukstad. Yay, Mike. So tell us your story, sir. Let us hear.
Well, I'm from Billings, Montana. Which you don't hear a lot of Montana people out on the road doing audio. I went to Skyview High School there, where I did do a little bit of theater, but I actually tried my hand at acting, and singing and musicals. So there's always like this magical thing of theater in my blood for some reason, whether I knew it or not. But I was always part of the band program, marching band. I was just a heavy band geek. I was the drum major, all those kind of things.
Yeah, we won't hold that against you.
Yeah, right. I played trombone. That was my instrument. Out of school, when I graduated, I decided I didn't want to go to college, so I was going to do a tech school, which is great. I went down to Denver. At the time, I think it was called Denver Institute of Technology, where I started a electronics program there. Which about 2 months in, I realized that I missed music too much, which is which is quite a realization.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I had my dad come pick me up. I enrolled in second semester of music school up in Missoula, Montana, at the University of Montana, and that's where my music journey started, really. Um, After that, I was also a career college student, so I should be a doctor, but I'm not.
Hey,
But
I'm there with you,
yeah,
man.
yeah. So I went through college. I I got burnt out. I'm not much of a school person except for the things that I love to learn.
Yeah.
Um, so I wanted to play. So I played my instrument. So I moved to New York with one of my buddies was living out there, and he's like, "Hey, next month I have a room opening. You want to come out?" So I was like, "Sure." So I got a temp job for a month and saved up like $2,000. Moved out to New York I've never visited there. Um, I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but
So wait, the first time you moved to New York was when you went to New York at all was when
yeah,
you were moving there
when I moved there, yeah,
from Montana.
from Montana,
There was
yeah.
no culture shock at all, was there?
Oh no, it was just it was strange, because you always think of New York as tall buildings, metropolis, but I was way uptown, so it was like just apartment complexes, basically. I mean, it was really nice. It was just I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Just took that shot, and I went. Uh, but anyway, I went there and I took lessons. I played in big bands. I played in some recordings. I stayed there for about 5 years doing that. Uh, After that, I got a little burnt out on New York too because it's quite a hustle to have to make rent. I had a second job there also, which was I worked for like a residential, like a high-end residential lighting designer named Ingo Mauer. Makes some incredible stuff.
Oh, cool.
Um, yeah, German guy, and played music. But I got a little burnt out after 5 years of just slowly clawing away. And I decided because I had left school without graduating, so I decided I was going to go back to the University of Montana, finish my degree, which I still haven't finished, by the way.
Sure. Team goals,
Yeah,
man. Team goals.
yeah, exactly. So I went back and went back to school. They gave me a scholarship to go back. I met. I started dating a girl who was an actress. She did community theater. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of Missoula Children's Theater, but they have the little red truck that comes around and does small plays with schools around the country, or actually around the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I was part of their. I had played in their pits in Missoula, where they're from, and once I started dating this girl, they had told her that they needed to find a sound designer. I had no idea what that was. I just knew it was a guy that ran the sound. That's what they do. And I was like, oh yeah, I've seen a soundboard before. I think I could probably turn on some microphones and let you guys do a play. And once I got into it, I realized that there was so much more to this. And I really fell in love. It was something. It was something I just can't explain. It's something that caught me. All I wanted to do was learn about it and get better at it, and so that's what I did. But there's no knowledge base around to find all this information that you need. You have to really dig. And so what I ended up finding was a book called "Mixing a Musical" by Shannon Slayton, and he's a designer out of New York. He also did some mixing on Broadway and subbing on a bunch of different shows. But he wrote this book that I found, and it was gold to me. It wasn't anything specific. Like super it doesn't get really into specifics of mixing and like designing and learning how to program a console, anything like that. But it was this overarching what what does an audio guy do in musical theater? And it goes down the list of what the hierarchy of jobs are, what a day in the life of someone is, or like going from the design to building a show to installing a show to moving a show. It just goes in this overarching, letting people understand what this life is like, a little bit. But so that was my Bible, I should say at the time, because I'm from Montana. There's no real big theater. There's no big sound designers. There's no, we have community theaters, and that's about it. Summer theaters.
Yeah.
And so this was like my Bible, because this is the only place I can get information from,
Yeah.
And so, I read the thing like 4 times, just to get these, just to understand what this is. And it was so fascinating to me. So I ended up doing, I think it was 3 shows with Missoula Children's Theater, designing and mixing. I say designing loosely because mixing loosely because I had no idea what I was doing. And then I had a friend who was the artistic director up at Fort Peck Summer Theater, and that's just outside of Glasgow, Montana. It's like in the middle of nowhere, literally in the middle of nowhere. There was a study done by it. The town with the littlest amount of population around it. But there's this like 900-seat theater out in the middle of Fort Peck, Montana, and my buddy is the artistic director, and so he hired me to be the sound designer and mixer. Sound designer, mixer, A1, A2. It's you do the whole job,
utility guy, right? Yeah, you do exactly. It all. Yep, and probably sweep the floor and wash the windows.
Build sets when you have to.
Exactly. Yeah, whatever.
But that's where I really started to be able to put this stuff into practice. And the more I read and researched, the more questions I had. So at this time, in Shannon Slayton's book, he made this. There's a term called, I was reading mixing techniques that we had, and it's called line by line mixing. I don't know if any of you have heard of this term, but basically, in the concept of line by line mixing is when when someone's talking, their mic's on. When they're talking, they're off. So you're always turning on and off their mics in throughout the show. So there's only one mic at a time, or you just need the minimum amount of mics on at the time. The only people that are talking or singing are on. And that floored me. And I was like, what is that all about? Like that can't be possible, and it makes sense, but it's not possible. And so I looked up line by line mixing on YouTube, and I found, I think there was just one guy that had a video up there. His name was Tim Schmidt. He was on the national tour of Peter Pan, and he had done a video of his hands, and I was like, holy crap, what is that? It was like, that's cool, and so I kind of Facebook stalked him, and I emailed him, I messaged him on Facebook, and turns out he was very willing to share all his knowledge with me. So over phone calls for the next probably 4 years, we would have phone conversations, and he would basically mentor me, like teaching me how to do things in theater, like techniques and how to tune rooms, how to set up signal change, signal flow, what things are. Any questions I had, he was willing to help and give me answers, which is so amazing, And so I grew from there. I kept learning and learning. After that first season, now I really had the bug, to do dual audio, because I was starting to learn real things, I went back to my hometown of Billings, because I didn't have anything after that, so I worked at FedEx. I was a driver for FedEx. I drove semi truck. I have a CDL, so I drove semis. Whatever it took to get me back to that next summer, that's what I did. I was like, whatever gets me through this season, I'm looking forward to next summer, because that's the only thing I had going for me. But I really wanted to do this. So did my thing, went back to Fort Peck Summer Theater. The second year, And during the season, the friend Tim, who's been helping me, he had heard that someone needed an A2 on a very small tour of the Buddy Holly story, and so he put my name in, and they hired me. So right after,
Awesome.
I missed something, yeah. So anyway, I got that job, and during that summer, I got a second job that would come in between Buddy Holly and the end of the Fort Peck Summer Theater, and it was the Palace Theater out in Wisconsin Dells. So
Okay.
they just
Yep.
hired me to mix the show, and they flew me out there, put me up in housing, and I mixed Mary Poppins for them. And then and then right after that, I went on this Buddy Holly tour, because it was 11 weeks, which I feel is fantastic, just to get your taste, see if you like touring. Um, and so I did that, which I learned a lot from. It was a busted truck, one-nighter tour, really hard. One truck. It's a lot of hours of working, really hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah. After that, I went back to Fort Peck for another season. It turned out that the schedules worked out, that I went back to Fort Peck Summer Theater for another season. And during that season, I'm always part of this theater group on Google Mail, whatever the Google groups. And I follow that. And Shannon Slayton, the guy that I read his book, had put out a job posting for an upcoming tour, and they needed a mixer for. And I was like, I'm
Opportunity
not
knocking.
yeah, exactly. I'm not qualified for that, but I'm whatever. I'm gonna put my my resume out there.
Yeah, it's never stopped me, man.
Yeah, and that was the first time where I was like, oh, put your name out there, because you never know what's gonna happen. So about 20 minutes later, he called me. Once I sent him my resume, he called me. He's like, "Hey, Mike, this is Shannon Slayton." And I was kind of freaked out, because
I was gonna say, did you fanboy?
I did fanboy.
That's awesome.
Because it's just weird. This is the book you've been reading. This is the only guy in theater. It's like, and then you're talking to him on the phone.
Yeah.
And he interviewed me, and he thought I was perfect for the job, even though I was telling him, I was like, I don't have experience, and he's like, it's cool, we can teach you, which I'm very thankful for. So he got my foot in the door, gave me a job on the Bullets Over Broadway national tour, and I did that with Savannah, who you just interviewed. And that was great. We did 10 months, insane amount of shows, insane amount of cities, 40 some cities, I believe. Insane.
So it was like trial by fire, huh?
Oh man, it was so stressful, because you're learning on the job, and you're learning in a high pressure environment. I mean, for me, it was just insane amount of pressure trying to deal with that while learning what I needed to learn. I had never hung speakers. I had never, when I got into the shop, I'd never built a show before, like built the touring racks. It was like I was out of my element so much.
So were you honest with him about that, or did you try to fake it till you make it?
I was 100% honest with him. When I did my interview, I was like, hey, I have never hung a center cluster. Like, I don't know how to what do you connect it to? I didn't know that you had motors to connect it to. I didn't know there was truss. I was like, I have no idea. But he was really gracious with me. They have, his team was very, very helpful and gracious and helping me, very patient.
Do you almost feel that for them, having a blank slate is better than having a slate they have to try to erase mistakes and refix?
It is. Yeah. The thing I'm going to keep going back to Shannon's book, because there's a lot of good information in there. But what he said was, as long as you're able to mix, there's something about someone that can mix a show. If you're able to mix and you've got that under control, we can teach the rest. Like, the rest is just technical things. You can learn that as you go. Yeah. But being able to mix is so important in this industry. I mean, that's what you do. That's the whole point. The end
Go figure.
The end product is you mixing a show. But so I'm so thankful that was my in. After Fort Peck, after Bolts Over Broadway, I got on I got the head of audio for the national tour, the 20th anniversary of Rent. And so I went out on that for another year. You got a little bit of a summer break, in
Yeah.
between tours. That was designed by Keith Caggiano, and his associate was Mike Tracy. Mike Tracy is important because he became a mentor for me also. And so I did another year of Rent. It took us to Tokyo. It took us all across the nation, 440 shows, I believe, something like that. I mixed. So much learning.
Wait, 440 shows in what time frame?
10 months ish.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, you're usually doing eight shows a week.
Yeah.
Sometimes a little less, but yeah, typically it's 8 shows a week. But you're always touring. You're always going city to city to city to city. So you're always loading in, you're always loading out. It's a lot of hours. It's a lot of hard work, but you learn so much on the road. I mean, you have to tune every single room. You have to make every single room try and sound the same. Make
Absolutely.
people hear in every seat. It's so challenging. After that, I went and I took over the first national tour of Finding Neverland, and that was a different experience because taking over a tour is different than starting a tour. When you come in, when you mix a show for the first time, you're mixing for the first time in front of an audience. So when you're mixing that show, that is so stressful to come into a show, mix it for the first time with people in the audience.
Oh yeah, I can imagine because the actors, all the performers are used to the last guy, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and he's there teaching me, obviously.
Yeah.
And I do run through it on my own, on a mixer or whatever. But that's something, So that's a really hard job to be able to take over. Learn what they were doing. It's hard to change things to make it your style. So you're just you're following in their footsteps, trying to make it as seamless as you can. After Finding Neverland, I did the same thing. I took over the first national tour of Beautiful. I don't know if you guys have heard of
the Carole
Beautiful.
King story. Yeah.
Yep.
I had a ticket for that in Midland and didn't get to go because of this little thing we're going through.
Oh man.
I know.
Yeah. So I did a year of Beautiful, which was one of the most rewarding processes of my life. That the crew was so professional and so kind, and we all worked together so well. It was one of the most relaxing processes, just a year of great people, great cast, great music. It was such a good time.
They must have all seen our wall of wisdom. That's what
exactly,
it is. Yeah. Be enjoyable. Yeah, work hard and be nice. That's probably what it was. They watch our show.
Exactly. So after a year of that, we went. I just trying to find a job. I didn't have a job, and then this came along. Hamilton came along, and I got asked to join the audio team for the LA of Hamilton.
And you probably had to think about that for a long time before you said yes, right?
I did. Well, I'm a assistant on this one, so the thing that I had to think about is do I want to not be an A1? And I think it took me a second to get over my ego about that, because I want to mix, that's what I do, But then I had to sit back. First of all, I wanted to be a part of this audio team with Nevin Steinberg, and his team is one of the smartest people, group of people I've ever met, and they're kind and they're so supportive of the entire sound crew throughout the Hamilton company. They were just it was just so nice to have someone like that on your side. And so that was another reason. Is like I want to be part of this audio team. The third part was that I need to learn how to be an A2 to be more well-rounded. I need to know what that aspect is from backstage. Like I need to learn how to be better A1. I think I need to be a good A2.
Absolutely.
So this is all about opportunities. It's all about growing yourself, and that's how I view this journey. It's like whatever path you're on, you can always grow yourself.
No, that's great.
So
And by the way, if you want, you can use this. I just had an epiphany. Your
mhm.
memoirs, you could call it Mike Rukstad from high school to Hamilton.
Oh yeah, it's gonna
You're
make
welcome to use
millions. It's gonna make millions. Yeah, yeah,
millions. Just
yeah,
mention me in the front in the pocket notes or something. That's
yeah.
all. Just
Exactly.
throw me that boat.
I'll put your picture on the cover. Yeah.
Yeah, hey, if you need to, if you need to. Well, hey man, that's awesome. So, I want to go back now to some things that you mentioned and have you expand those out for a little bit. Because the first thing that I noticed is the fact that Savannah, when we talked to her, Jerry J, they jumped into the career right out of college. You have a different path, which is one of the things I love about having different guests is, if we have a passion, we don't always know about it until later in life. And whatever your journey is, still go for it. So, but the difference, the amazing thing about you is I would call it a meteoric rise in this industry. You started 5 years ago, and now you're in Hamilton, arguably the hottest show in the world right now, in the universe, right? We don't know if there's musical theater anywhere else, maybe the hottest show in the universe. And here you are on their production team. 5 years ago, you would say you didn't know it was a career. And now look at this. There's got to be something there, something to you that makes you a little different. And I think one of the things, and I know, from where we talked before, music in your background, right? How big of a difference has that made for you, being a musician before you were a sound man?
I think, I think the fact that being a musician in the first place, that gave me, it was a different part of my life, but I think it gave me, I came into this older, maybe I had a couple more life experiences, but I think the big part was being a musician, being able to listen across an ensemble, knowing what each instrument sounds like, and understanding how parts, melodies, and harmonies work together to create larger pieces. It's like when I'm mixing, I don't tend to listen to words so much as I do of melodies and harmonies and
just how it all fits together.
Yeah. And I think that's what being a musician really taught me is how this works. How do you balance and blend a group of voices or a band? Like, is that second reed chair? Are they playing the melody with the singer on stage right now? So if that's the case, maybe I should bump them up. I think that's kind of maybe what gives me an edge. Maybe it's not. It's just an added edge, I guess, that I have. Just being able to hear things like that.
Right. Well, and I got to imagine that probably the musicians love that, right? So you're not just some sound guy in the back of the room turning things on and off mechanically, but you actually are almost a part of the orchestra and accentuating what they do. And that's
exactly
huge.
That's another big thing is when I do go and talk to them, I can talk music with them. They don't have to try and dumb down what they're trying to tell me. I want this in this section. I am a musician, so I understand, like, measure 4, there's this line, maybe they want that to be pushed out a little bit. So that really helps too. I'm able to communicate music with everyone that needs to know,
Yeah, that's good. They've never, though, just jumped up and said, "Hey, Mike, we need a trombone player. Get down here."
Yeah, right. I'll play from front of house. I'll just play while I'm mixing.
That would be impressive. Absolutely. Yeah. Very good. Very good. So, yeah, I mean, to me, that's got to be huge, right? Just to be able to know music and feel music and take it beyond that. So
I think that's such a skill that I'm happy that I went through that, to understand music, just playing it and studying it. Put a lot of years on my journey, but it's so helpful,
That's awesome. And is that a fairly common thing that you find among your colleagues in the sound world?
A lot of the times they are some sort of musician, maybe not always. That's not necessarily it has to be that way, but a lot of times they have some sort of, they'll play guitar, or sometimes, they played trombone in high school, or, there's always some sort of musical background. Maybe they were a singer, maybe they were an actor, there's something always there.
Yeah. Awesome. So would you say it's important enough or has made a difference enough that if somebody was thinking about becoming or going into sound as a profession, that at least familiarity or listening to music or doing something, that whatever you can do to become more familiar with that.
Yeah, and I think that was my greatest strength. I loved listening to music, and I loved listening deep into music. So even an exercise, if you're getting interested in sound, like an exercise you can do is just put on whatever recording, either it's rock and roll, it's opera, whatever, movie soundtracks. Understand that being able to listen deep, listening to like the chimbasso, the low brass, maybe a tuba. What is a tuba player doing? What is the first violins doing? Like being able to pick out each instrument, and understand what they're doing. Are they playing the same melody with the singer? Like, or what's going on there? And that's just such good listening skills. Being a good listener is really, really big.
Yeah, absolutely. That's huge.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to get back into some of that here, I think, a little later. But first, this would be a great point to kind of pause in the journey and everything. And, some of the terms that you use, A1, A2, A1's a great steak sauce. Love it. Wish I had me a ribeye right now. But just to educate us, because, a lot of people don't know those terms, even, community theater, it's a sound guy or whatever, because
Sure.
it's one guy doing everything. So just kind of break it down real quick. What are the different positions if I was looking to pursue, or a student was looking to pursue sound from designer to what it is, and how do they differ? What do they do?
Sure. And this is just specifically, this is musical theater, the sound.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because it's so different from rock and roll. So it's different in community theaters, it's different in regional theaters. But as far as touring sound or Broadway and some community theaters or regional theaters, it usually starts with the sound designer. The sound designer is he's the boss. He chooses all the equipment he wants for the show, microphones. He tunes the sound system to the way he wants to sound. The show sounds the way it sounds because of him. And then you have an assistant or an associate designer, depending how they want to call themselves. Usually they're the right hand of the designer. They're there to help when he's not there, have answers, communicate between whoever they need to be. They usually are a big part of all the technical aspects of the show, helping out with the designer. And then you go into a production audio person, and that is the physical guy on the show. So the physical, as far as parts, making sure, like when you go into an audio build, when you go to the sound shop and you build the audio for the tour or whatever, he's the person that makes it happen. Like gets the parts from the shop, makes sure that everything that you've ordered from the shop shows up, make sure they're ready, and supports them out on the tour if they need something out on tour.
He spends the money.
Yeah, exactly. And he or she is really busy usually, taking care of everything that the show needs.
And he's probably the one that gets schmoozed by sound salesmen, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then the A1 is basically when we're on tour, the A1 is usually the boss of our department. Technically, under union rules, we are under the electrics department, but it's not quite that way. I mean, technically we are, but they're different departments. So usually the head of the audio is the boss of our department. So he or she mixes the shows, usually the bulk of the shows, depending on the level of tour you're on. They'll mix all the shows, or they'll mix most of the shows every week. They're obviously they talk to the designers, they talk to the assistant designers and production audio people. They talk to basically the point person for our department. They tell how they want our department to run. They tell, what needs to get done.
They're the boss.
They're supervisor. Yep, they're the boss. And then the A2, depending on the size of the tour, the A2, first of all, mixes some of the shows. If you're on a larger show, they'll mix probably 3 times a week. And then the A2 or the A1 will come back and do your backstage track.
Okay, and I want to stop you right here, because this is fascinating to me. When you and I talked, you said if you want to see you've got me some video that I think we can show, and I'll do that here when we're done, as a way to close the show, because I want people to see it. But you also said go online and watch on YouTube and look at the Jamie Heidemann, his series where he met with some of the, I think the San Francisco team when they were there. Yeah. And dude, okay, so for me, when I've always thought of mixing, right, is you get your good mix, and then you turn on all the mics that are in the scene. You know, because it's community theater, that's what we do, right?
Sure.
And even in the university level, if there's 15 mics in a scene, you turn them all on, and then when the scene's over, you mute them all. Right. Explain to us this line by line insanity that you are like a mixing god. It's insane, and when people see it, they will not believe it.
It's insane. So it's basically you're turning on a mic when they're talking or singing, and you're turning it off when they're not. So every line that you're reading on a script, their microphone is on, they're shut off, and the next person's microphone is on. So if you can think about like how much movement there is when you're doing that.
Just so people understand, one guy, there's not a team of you doing this.
Right.
When you are mixing the board live for Hamilton, which is insane. I've seen Hamilton on Broadway. There's some scenes that are insane. It's got to look like Guitar Hero, right? I mean, you're moving faders up and down constantly, and you say it's when they say the line, but you got to anticipate it, right?
It's got to be, or
it's too late.
You have to feel every bit of time. You have to understand their timing. You have to you need to know the show. You need to know what that actor's timing is when they say their line. Because when an understudy will come on, it's going to be totally different. So you have to understand multiple people's timing in that role. Anticipate, understand what you're doing. Not only that, it's not just putting it up to a number. The fader. You have to use your ears. So you're always balancing. Sometimes your fingers are at the same level. Sometimes they're different. Say you're in a big number and you have a soloist, but other people are singing along. You have to balance them. They have to push them over the rest of the people. So you'll see on some of these. I have a couple videos. You'll see that when someone's talking, they have little solo lines. You're popping them out. It's like playing a piano. I mean, it really is.
Well, and again, that's got to, being a musician. I mean, you're playing music. You really are. You're playing an instrument. It's crazy. So here was, as I watched the video, I did go last night and watch that video. I had to wonder, do you just, is there muscle memory involved? I mean, could you take a scene after you've done it for a while and do it even not listening?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Totally. Well, yeah, that's interesting. I probably could in my head. I've never thought to try that, but
come on, right now, bust out a scene.
Yeah,
come
right.
on.
Let me get my mixer right here.
How does
yeah, right. Usually around 60 to 80 shows, I'll have the whole show memorized. So I won't need the script anymore, and that really opens you up to being able to craft the sound. So it's amazing how much muscle memory. Even today, when I'm listening to Rent, I know there's one, a spot in one song. I know that was a scene change. And it just comes to me right away, and I'm like, oh, scene change in time. It's like it's amazing how much the muscle memory sticks with you.
So is it hard to be, when you listen to those recordings, is it hard to be critical, to not be critical of whoever was doing sound? Oh, dude, totally missed that line.
Yeah. Sometimes, but those, like, the studio recordings are in a studio, so there's never any mistakes,
Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. Because you never know what's going to happen when you're doing a recording. Tornadoes, all kinds of stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly, right?
So, and I interrupted you. So you were talking about an A2, but I just wanted to throw that in because that's an amazing thing. Most people don't understand. It's not just turning things on and off. It's constantly being in it, and how stressful. And the fact that one person can pull that off for a show like Hamilton is insanity. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a lot too. I mean, they do some. I don't know if you guys know about time delay changes or anything like that. As for the speaker away is from you, just being able to line up things. there's multiple pushes, or like multiple scene changes, button pushes to change a scene, just because actors are moving upstage and we need to change the time delay in their microphone. I mean, it's insanely detailed.
That's crazy.
How this is, yeah, how this works. I mean,
That's crazy. And the echo,
yeah,
I know like Hamilton has some effects like echoes and things like that. I
they
would imagine
do,
all of
and
that
that's
is a
all live.
change and a
Yep,
drop
and
and a
that's all live.
live.
That's all live. A button push. I mean, yeah, it's
Much
intense.
respect, my friend. So what you're saying is this is not a high pressure job at all.
No, no, not at all. No,
So anybody
it's
going
fun
into
though. I
this has
mean,
got to be someone that deals with stressful
yeah,
situations and thinking on the
yeah,
fly and
yeah,
crazy.
exactly. And you're learning those skills to be in a pressure situation, uh, and being able to handle things that go wrong while you're mixing. I mean, it gets really stressful sometimes, but you learn how to deal with it. You learn how to manage things, because you can't stop thinking. Like if you stop, if you miss a line, let's say, and you freak out and you shut down for 2 seconds, you miss
You're gone.
two more lines. Yeah, you miss two more lines. Now you're really behind. So you always just have to let it go, let it go, let it go. Or if something goes wrong, learn how to fix it real fast while mixing. While mixing the show. The show always has to be going. You can't just stop because something happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
Much
Oh, so
respect.
where were we? A2? Yeah.
A2,
Hidden server.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I know we could talk forever on this. So then you go to an A2 who also mixes. So it's very important for anyone going into musical theater audio needs to have some sort of idea of how to mix. Um, that will be very, very helpful for you. So the A2 will takes care of everything backstage, basically everything in the audio system. You're the troubleshooter when things go wrong because the A1's out mixing. So we are in charge of comm, which is all the communications between all the departments. We have a headset. I'm sure you guys have seen this in theater. Um, Anything that goes wrong with that, buzzes, fixes, uh, we need to go out and be able to fix that. We're in charge of all the video that goes to basically stage master. So it's all our front of house shots, all our conductor shots that the stage manager uses basically to keep everyone safe. They can see things in the dark, so we're in charge of that kind of video. I'm in charge of all the microphones, all the radio frequencies. If we're having problems with radio frequencies, that's my job. If a microphone breaks, that's my job to fix that in a timely manner before they go back out, if you can. If it breaks while they're on stage, they come off, you try and fix it, send them back out with a new mic. And then,
Yeah, and in Hamilton, do a couple of the characters wear more than one mic? Is that what I understand?
There's I believe two. I could go look. I had to bring all the microphones home with me because I'm still building. Because
Oh wow,
that's another thing. The A2 builds the mic. So on Hamilton, it's special. Like you can watch that video. Another one of the A2 of that Hamilton video.
Yeah, with Jamie Heidemann. Yeah.
So we make our own mics and we fit it to each person's ear. We bend wire and fit it to each person's face and ear, and then we tie microphones onto these earpieces. That makes it a perfect fit for each actor. And some of them have two. I think there's two people that have. I don't know. I'll have to look. It's been a while since I've looked at that have double mic rigs. So they have a double mic pack and two mics on them.
That's crazy.
And it's pretty. I can actually send you pictures of that if you want to. Put that up too. But
that would be cool.
Really fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So A2 and they're the ones backstage, so they know everybody's track and a lot to keep track of there as well.
Yep. We also if there's a problem in the band, if an in-ear monitor's avions go out, if a conductor camera monitor goes out, we have to be there ready. If a mic input is popping, we have to go down and know where to fix it. So we're the backstage guy. We're also usually we'll have a local person that's part of the theater back there running the deck track. So basically like putting out, on Hamilton, they have the King's hat with a microphone in it. We'll have the local audio person running all those kind of things when you place it on the actor's head or, whatever. And that keeps the show A2 free just in case something happens out front of house and they have to run out there and mix. So it keeps you free to troubleshoot, listen to mics ahead of time, try and catch things, and then also be free to go up front if you need to.
Wow, that's a lot, man.
It's great.
That's cool. So A3s, A4s, all the way to like whatever that hierarchy depends on the size of the show.
It depends on the size of the show. I don't know if I've ever heard of anything going past A4, but I am new to this business, so
just making stuff up there, man.
You never know.
A mega show. A35.
Exactly. Movie musicals, maybe. I don't know. TV musicals.
So one just a quick thing here. You have, I think it sounds like most of your experience has been in tours. And then this one, you're Hamilton, LA, and going to be planted there for a while.
Year and a half is what it's scheduled. We're already down 2 months, but
yeah, absolutely. Hopefully, that extends or something. But exactly. So you enjoy being in one place, or you enjoy traveling in the challenge of, because I can imagine, especially like if you're traveling with Hamilton, every room is different and every nuance is different, and you don't have much time to learn that.
Yeah, some people love that, being able to sit down, and I, to a point, I love that too. But I'm a little antsy, after a while. So I really love touring. Like, that's what I really love to do. You get to go, first of all, you get to see your friends that have moved out of your state or out of your, people across the country that you normally wouldn't be able to see. You get to go see them and just enjoy life that way.
Yeah, that's cool.
But also the challenge of having to tune each room, like make the speakers sound the same, making it sound great in every seat in every room. That's an amazing challenge that I just love, and it's hard work. I mean, you work a lot of hours, but it's so rewarding. Making the friends you have on tour also, they become your family just because of all the problems you go through, and you're traveling together. You're always around each other. It's pretty amazing. I'll have lifelong friends because of it.
That's great. And we're meeting some of them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
that's cool.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you. That's good. So now I tell you, I've been looking forward to this part of the interview because just so people know, I always, whoever's going to be the guest, I always spend some time talking to them just to get to know their story, and we talk about what would be good. Well, you and I are usually, those are about an hour. I think we talked 2 hours. Yeah, and it's because we got on this thing where we both just got super passionate, and everything before this in the interview so far has been great, Mike. But man, when you started talking about why you love what you do, I got excited, not just because I was ready to have you mentor me. I'm jump out on the road and start mixing, man. But man, I'm ready to hear that again. Start just with, what is it? Answering that question. Why do you love this? What is it that you're passionate about? And where does that come from? Where does that come from?
Yeah, it's hard to, it's weird to talk about because I've never had to explain it. And then I start thinking about why it is the way I feel, the way I do when I mix. And it starts with music. Music, I never thought I would give up playing music, and to a point I haven't, but professionally it was my heart, and like the feeling I got when creating music with people. I realized that there was I like call it emotion, the emotion of music, and like what music does to you, how music can push a story along, and whether people know it or not, it's why in movies, why am I feeling this way? Why is it so intense right now?
Absolutely.
The music pushing that, and it fascinated me, and being able to come to do audio for musical theater specifically was so magical to me, because you're creating music. You are basically the conductor with ultimate control. So everything that everyone has been doing, all the actors, all the band, everyone that is running the show on stage, you are the last part of the puzzle to let the audience hear. So you have this control, and it's a big, what do you call it? Responsibility,
Yeah.
to create this moment that everyone has been working so hard to do, and that's what really gets me. There's times where like talking about it's giving me goosebumps because that feeling of pushing this emotional moment, pushing the band, and everyone, you could feel everyone holding their breath in the audience. There's something indescribable. I don't know how to describe that. This is why I love it. It's almost addictive.
Oh yeah, it's got to
Yeah,
be addictive, man. Because you
yeah.
are, when I think about what and was listening and hearing you just as you talk, you are sculpting not only
Hmm.
what you're not only sculpting the sound that is coming through the sound system, but you are
Yeah,
in tune with the audience and you are sculpting their emotion
yeah,
in a
yeah.
big way, right? Because you can
You
sense
are
that penultimate moment. And when do you start fading? When do you how slow is the
exactly,
the
exactly.
rise? And
Yeah. See,
that's
I'm even.
awesome.
It's getting worse.
You're gonna say, forget the
Yeah,
virus, let's
I know,
go, I'm
I know.
ready,
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
go
Let's
mix
get
it
out.
now.
Yeah, no, there's something to that, and it's this. I get into this focused state, and I love, like, just like I said, listening across an ensemble, understanding what they do. There's times when you're like, what? Oh my gosh, that trombone is playing a melody octave lower than the melody with the actors, and I mean, like, you're like, oh, let's push that out a little bit more, and it creates this depth in the sound, the depth of the feeling. I might sound weird talking about it this way, but this
Not
is
no,
how
you
I
honestly
this is
don't,
how I
man, I
feel
get
it.
it.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is how I feel mixing. And it's interesting. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't talked to a lot of people about how I mix, how it feels.
Yeah.
Um, there are a few people that feel the same way, but I don't know about everyone else. So
Well, and again, I said in the beginning, there had to be something that was one of the reasons that you had this meteoric rise from 5 years to from not knowing his career to Hamilton. To me, that has to be part of it because as performers, we all do that. As I act, when I sing, when I direct, whatever I'm doing, we're molding actors or we're molding our part, our
mm,
performance. And so they have to sense that in you as well and appreciate the fact that you're not just turning it on. It's not just a mechanical thing, but
right,
you
yeah.
are accentuating what they're doing, because if they're doing a good job and then you take that and you mix it well together and you put that's one of those, when those magical moments in theater happen,
Yeah, yeah.
um, that are just don't always happen. But when they do, you experience it. And I owe you an apology, I think, and everybody in the series. And I'll tell you why, because when I began to formulate what I wanted to do, and I called this series The Hidden Stars of Theater, I actually said this statement, and I'm a bit ashamed to admit it now. I said, we want to focus on the roles that are non-performers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
And
that's,
I
yeah, I agree.
apologize.
No, it's totally okay because people don't know what we do. And if I could give any of the teachers out that if you can find, if a tour comes through town, try and get your students to watch what that audio guy's doing, because it's amazing what happens back there. Or even any of the jobs backstage, it's amazing what they do just to make this show happen. It's quite a team event, and they're highly skilled people. It's amazing.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, I will do my best to make it to LA so I can come sit behind you. And
Absolutely.
hell, I swear I'll pay attention to you the whole time, and I really will at this point,
Yeah,
because yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. I love it.
just
Yeah.
amazing, man. That's that.
Yeah.
That. See,
Yeah. I
I
mean,
really am. I'm ready to do
we
it.
probably talked 50 minutes on this yesterday,
Oh, we did.
just of this. And it's so easy to get off on a tangent about the feeling of music. And if you, at all the people listening, like, think about, watch next time you watch a movie, think about the movie without this soundtrack. What would it be like? And then think about what the soundtrack is doing to you emotionally. Like, why are you, like, in a scary movie? Why right now am I getting so, anxious? It's partly from what you're seeing, but a lot from what you're hearing. You don't realize how much it's affecting you.
Oh yeah, you can
Yeah.
completely change somebody's demeanor and their feelings and everything just by change. You can change a scene. I've seen from comedy to, there's these little clips where
Oh,
you take a scary
yeah.
movie and you put a comedic
Yep.
song to it, and it makes the whole thing
Yeah.
funny.
Or if
It
you guys look up
changes
Scary
it all.
Mary, they changed the
Yes.
music to Mary Poppins, and it's
Yeah.
this scary horror film now, and it's really great to watch, and it's amazing how much it just changes the whole idea of the show. You know?
Well, that's awesome. Well, dude, we're running out of time. I
Yeah. So
literally
yeah.
should have made this 2 episodes, but
Yeah.
so just before we get to the Q&A, this is your chance, man, so to drop some wisdom bombs on some kids that are watching that are thinking, I want to go into this. Mike has inspired me. I love music. I love, what can I do? What would you say to them? Maybe what they should be, what they should not
Mhm.
be to be successful. What
Well,
does it take?
yeah. For right now, like understand that this is a long process. Start researching now. Do it like one step at a time. Research something. Go down the rabbit hole. Find what you can through. I call it the YouTube hole. Like you go down this rabbit hole. Go off here, and you find out so much things. Do that about audio. Once you find a term, say like line by line mixing, go check that out on YouTube. There's a ton of videos up now. You can go do that. It's going to take you a lot of different places. There's going to be a lot of information out there just off of that. Talk to people. You can email people. You can email me. You can, if you have questions about what it's like, what to do, get some information. From the people that are doing it. Just research and understand the craft. Understand that touring's what touring's like, what Broadway's like, what doing community theater or doing regional theater is like. Understand, talk to those people, understand what they do, what their responsibilities are. And networking is a huge part of this. Learn how to talk to people, learn how to network, ask questions because people are willing to give these answers. And that's a big part of it. And that's a big part of how I worked my way up here. It's
Yeah,
just there's a lot of network, a lot of talking to people.
absolutely. And I know with that, you talked about the same thing everybody else does when we talk, being nice, right? How important is that in this? It is for everything, it seems
like
like.
90% of the game, really, especially when you're touring. You're touring and you're living with these people, maybe on a bus. You have 12 people in bunks. You're living on a bus. You have to get along. I mean, you have to learn how to work with these people all day and then get on a bus and ride to the next city. Wake up with them. It's you become really close. And if you're a horrible person, this is going to be real rough on you. You probably won't get a job the next time. Possibly. It's that important that you're able to work together.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've come down to that moment. You've seen the other episodes. I know you shared that you watched because you're friends with Jerry J and Savannah both. And we have our Gateway Mortgage right here, the Wall of Wisdom, where everybody gets a piece of gaff tape. And I've got yours right here, and I've got my my white paint pen. Yeah. So it's gonna live up there forever, or at least until this trailer falls apart, which could be next week. Hopefully not. But so what words of wisdom do you, sir, want to put on the wall to share with students on how to succeed in this world?
Obviously, my first one is learn to work together. Learn how to work together. You're going to have a few on this. I'm sorry. I couldn't just put it down to
That's all right.
But the things I think about the most are learning how to work together, work hard and stay focused on your goal. No matter what road this journey takes you down, work hard and stay focused on that goal, because you're going to pick up so much things that's on different roads that are going to make you so well-rounded. And you're going to learn everywhere you go, wherever you can go. Even if you're working at FedEx, you can learn something from that. Learn something about life in that way. Be flexible, work with people. I guess that's still the same, but be flexible. Don't always say no. Sometimes it takes a little research. If you're in a community theater, be flexible. When a director says, "Hey, can you put 34 speakers stage right?" and you're like, "Let me look at it." Don't say no. Sorry. Be flexible. Be flexible in loading in and loading out. And I think that one of the most important is just enjoy your journey.
Yeah.
Enjoy your journey. So
I've
I think
got them
those,
all
there,
on
there
one
you
piece
go.
of paper.
Yeah, you have another sign. I
Yeah.
can go all day.
We'll just do Mike's Well of
Yeah.
Wisdom. Cool. Very good. Well, we're going to put that up there. And that is awesome. So we're going to transition over now and see what questions we have. I've seen some coming in. And let's pull this up. And all right. Piper Smith. Piper, if you want to unmute your microphone and ask Mike a question.
Which one? I asked like 3.
Oh, I just saw the first one here about how do you recommend someone interested get started?
Okay.
I just asked your question. I apologize. Go ahead, Piper, ask the question.
Well, I'm a graduating senior, so of course I did not get to finish out my last year of theater.
Right.
And I'm not going to college for that. I missed all the appointments to get into college for that reason. But how do I get involved still? Like, I still love theater. I still want to be in tech and audio and everything. How do I go? Do I walk into my community theater and say, hey, I want to work tech? Or do I need to like email people and be like, hey, you opening up for an internship? How do I go about that?
Yes, all of that. No, yeah, community theater is that's where I started. I mean, it's a great place to start. Even if there's already an audio person there, maybe you could figure out a little internship with them. There's nothing. It's not going to hurt you just to ask. If they say no, they say no. Someone's going to say yes, especially, I don't know where you live, but or where you will be living, but you can look into regional theaters. Sometimes they'll have a regional theater that they'll have an internship there also, or they need someone. Maybe they need an A2, or maybe they need something. Yeah, definitely reach out to theaters around your community and see if there's something there for you.
And I can say, if you're still in Ada when the time's right, as a director in the community theater and part of the board of directors of Ada Community Theater, Piper, yes, I just said yes. There, that was easy.
There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so next we have Divita Smith. Divita, you can unmute that microphone and ask us a question. Actually, Divita, I think she has bad reception.
Gotcha.
So I will ask for her. She is wondering, in small school theater, when I choose students, and Divita is one of our teachers on today.
Okay.
In a small school theater, when I choose students or students that think they want to do audio, what traits would you look for in those students? Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's hard to say because someone with no experience could turn out to be unreal, like amazing. So I guess the base thing that I would look at is the willingness to want to learn. If they're interested in audio, heck yes, give them a shot, especially if they're just make sure that they have to follow through when it gets hard. I think that would be the base. Maybe a technical type of brain, maybe would be another thing. That's just hard. I think my biggest thing would be the willingness. Like they show they want to try this and learn. Because I don't know if that answers your question, but that would be the base aspect.
Yeah, no, I think that was good. I think you're right on.
Yeah.
Sweet. Let's see. Piper Smith, you want to ask your one about recommended resources?
Oh, gosh.
You had some good questions.
I'm a techie at heart. Thank you. Recommended resources. And what should I do to learn how to mix at home when really all I have is like an iPad and a keyboard?
Great. There's a couple resources out there. There's actually one made. There's a practice. There's a couple out there, but the one that I have is it's made by Casecraft. It's kind of pricey. I think like $225, but it's a replica of the Digico SD7, and it has all the working faders on it, so you can practice. And it's what I practice on when I'm at home. So you can practice just running faders, and that's probably the biggest tool that I have to practice at home.
So do you have a nickname?
My nickname?
Yeah.
Not really. The people on, since there was one Mike on the Rent tour, they called me Mike. So that was my that was my nickname on my first on my first tour, the
Mike.
Buddy Holly tour. They called me Ranger for some reason. that kind of stuck with me all the way through Finding Neverland. But yeah.
Yeah, I would just want to be Lord Vader.
I like that. Yeah.
Or Darth Vader. That would be good too.
I hope that
that would be question, good too.
But,
yeah, that I didn't know that's
really
a cool
great.
resource,
So
kind of a dummy board that
you can check that out online.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'll find that link and add it to the notes. Brady, you put, it's not a question, but you wanted to say something, and dude, I think that's well worth saying. So if you can unmute your mic and tell Mike here what you had to say. Brady.
Sorry.
There you go.
No, I didn't really have a question. I'm fairly new when it comes to tech, and I am trying to learn as much as I can this year, but I just wanted to thank you, and I appreciate you sharing your story with us and, taking time out of your day to teach us some new things. So thank you.
Absolutely. I really appreciate that, actually. I love this. This is how I got into it, people sharing knowledge, and I'm happy to do this. So thank you. That means a lot to me.
And that, I think that's echoed by all of us, man. This has been good. So a couple, two last questions here. One is from Piper. Mm-hmm. Piper, I'm going to go ahead and ask this one for you. What if you could, because I actually wondered this question as well, and mm-hmm. it may be the answer is Hamilton. If you could mm-hmm. if you could do any show, right? Mm. What show would you work? What's that? Is there a show out there? Because I know, for an actor, for me, Jean Valjean and Les Mis is my big bucket list role. Yeah. But as a sound guy, do you have those? I want to mix.
Obviously,
whatever.
Yeah, Hamilton's pretty awesome. But there are those moments. Like, there's a lot of moments in there that gives me goosebumps. There's moments that will make me tear up. But I think we talked about this a little yesterday. When I went to see Hadestown, like, there's something about Hadestown that, like, gets me, I really, really want to mix that show.
Yeah.
Someday. And it's just such great music, I think Hadestown would probably be biggest on the list. I mean, besides Hamilton, obviously, but.
Mike Rukstad, you are awesome, man. This has been so good. Thank you. I can't even begin to tell you just how much I've enjoyed it, and our students. And I got it all written down on one piece of gaff tape. So here goes. Drum roll up on the board on the Gateway Mortgage Group. Thank you, Michael McElroy, for your support of our program. There we go. One more piece of wisdom up on the board, and it's a 3-part, which is, hey, we got our money's worth. Well, and what we always like to do, Mike, you guys as sound engineers, you don't get to do a curtain call, right? But you are stars as much as anyone there. And so we want to give you a curtain call and a round of applause. So everybody unmute your microphone and let's give Mike a big round of applause. Absolutely, man. Yes. So you rock. You rock. And we hope to be able to see you live someday. That would be just freaking awesome.
Say hi.
You absolutely bet, Mike. I'll take you up on that, man. I look forward to coming out there maybe sometime and seeing you, because I would love to see you work your magic with that line by line mixing, which is just crazy. You're like a wizard doing that stuff. But yeah, we're gonna do it. So I'll see you in LA sometime, man. But hey, everyone else, I wish I could take you with us, but I can't. If you get out there, though, go say hi to Mike. He said it. He would love to see you there. But I can't thank him enough. Can't thank you enough for being here, you guys. Hey, in fact, right now, let me know you were here by going down, hitting subscribe, hitting a like. It sounds like a silly thing to ask, but it actually helps us out getting support for making this program available to you and your schools and everybody for free. Thank you, Gateway Mortgage, Michael McElroy, for our Wall of Wisdom sponsorship, and Latta High School. Man, so many people to thank. You guys are all stars to me. And Latta High School, Divita Smith, all of you guys, love you guys. Thank you for being here and being our feature school. Other than that, I think we're done. So we will see you next time. We've got a great guest coming up, Emma Bogave, who is a wardrobe supervisor. So if you're into that, be sure to check out the next episode. Otherwise, we're going to close out things here by paying a tribute to our seniors from Latta High School, the seniors of 2020 Panthers, and they'll take us out. All right, guys, we'll see you next time. Thanks for coming.